I need some people in here. We need to start this culture committee. Candace Teehee has offered to give us our prayer. If you would all stand. Thank you.
Unetlana, watch over us as we consider the business of Cherokee Nation today. Watch over those who are giving our reports. And please look over everybody who is experiencing loss, who is struggling in the face of the continuing global pandemic. And please hold the families of those boarding school descendants who have experienced trauma and loss close to you today. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call, Shelley.
Yes, ma'am. I will have to do 2 roll calls because this is our first cultural meeting since the last election. So, Keith Austin. Here. Julia Coates. Sean Crittenden. Joe Deere. Rex Jordan. Here. Darrell Legg. Here. Wes Snowfire. Dora Petskowski. Here. Okay. Now, this is for those that were just in the election. I need to know if you want to be a member of the committee as well. Danny Callison.
Here, yes.
Mike Dobbins. Johnny Kidwell.
Here, yes.
Joshua Sam.
Here, yes.
Mike Shambaugh. Melvina Shotpouch.
Yes.
E.O. Smith.
Here, yes.
Condessa Teehee.
Yes.
Victoria Vasquez. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Shelley. If all of you have had a chance to look over the minutes from our last meeting, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Motion passed. Thank you. All right. We are ready for reports, and Ms. Molly Jarvis. Let's see. Cultural tourism report. Good to see you, Molly. Good morning.
Good morning. Glad to be here with you today. I am here for our every other month report, and we have our report that was submitted, but I will go over some highlights and see if there are any questions for our cultural tourism group. Again, staying very busy, and fall is always our extremely busy time. With Dwight Mission, we have taken over management of that property, have a caretaker on site, the gentleman who's been there, Mr. Ron Lackey, and we are working on doing physical assessments of the property and maintenance, some winterization, before we work on the long range and master plan for that site. And then, as you know, 2021, we were doing syllabary bicentennial celebrations at all of our locations and working closely with the Cherokee Nation Language Department and Roy Boney and Howard Payton. We continue to do that and have exhibits at all of our sites dedicated to the story of Sequoyah and the bicentennial, with the exception of the Saline Courthouse, where we feature a national treasure. And so those continue to be up through the end of the year. For the Cherokee Heritage Center, we concluded the Homecoming art show, was very successful. We sold, let's see, I have a report on that. We sold more than 44 pieces, totaling more than $18,000 for the artists, and I believe that is a higher number than it has been in the previous year. So we are very excited about the result of both that show and the Trail of Tears art show. We continue to work on the inventory. It is complete. We are just reconciling it and taking a digital record of the inventory that was moved to the Archives and Collections Center. And we held a ceremony there last Friday, placing the final item into the archives and vault there, which was the land patent. So very excited about that. We expect that facility to open to the public later this fall. Then we have our Veneta Cultural Development, and very proud and happy to say we had the naming ceremony for that site on Monday, and I think it was a surprise. Wonderful. Will be the Anna Mitchell Cultural and Welcome Center there in Veneta, and our anticipated opening date, we were shooting for November for the 150 celebration, but we've had some delays in both labor and materials, so it looks like we're going to have more of a December opening for that site this year. We continue to work on the state and with our legal department on the acquisition of Will Rogers Birthplace Ranch. For the Tahlequah Pathway, it is well underway and should be finished later this month. So we are extremely excited about that and think it'll be a great asset in downtown Tahlequah to connect all of our locations from the Cherokee National History Museum, the Supreme Court, and all the way to the Prison Museum, including Court Mall and the Spider Gallery and the Cherokee Art Center. That is most of the updates, just kind of hitting on the highlights of all of our projects that we have going on. I'll mention for Saline Courthouse, we do have our National Treasure on exhibit there. This month it is Bessie Russell, and we have almost sold out of all of her pieces, and she's up through the end of October. And then for November will be Betty Frog, who you'll hear from in just a little bit. And I believe that's all of the updates, unless there are any questions for me.
Thank you, Molly. Anyone have questions? Counselor Austin.
Thank you, Molly. Last report, you had said Counselor Byrd had requested drawings and or renderings of the downtown pathway, cultural pathway. And I don't know if you just supplied those to him or to all of us, but I would like to see what the current plan looks like as well.
Okay, let me check. I believe those were supplied, and if they weren't distributed, I apologize, but let me check on that immediately following the meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have just a quick one, Molly, about the Saline and Bessie Russell. Are the pieces that have been sold, will they stay on exhibit throughout till the end of October?
Yes, ma'am. So we
Okay.
do that with all of the artists. If something sells, we just mark it as sold,
Great.
and then, but they stay up through the entire exhibit.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I guess no questions. We will let you go. Thank you for your good report.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to hear from the Cherokee Nation Language Department, and today we have Mr. Wyman Kirk here in place of Howard Payton. Welcome, Wyman.
The language department in lieu of Mr. Howard Payton, who was unfortunately unable to make it today. He sends his regrets that he could not be here. Hopefully I can present and provide the information that is needed in a coherent manner. Obviously, if y'all have any questions, just let me know. I'll do the report and then see if anybody has any questions about anything. So the language department in this, since the last report, has done 2 staff presentations and classes. This makes 15 total that have been done to date. And the number of participant outreach that has been done is 50. And that brings the year-to-date total up to 332. We have not had any on-site classes, nor are we still at a point where we have any of the contract community classes. The number of online classes, and these are the ones that Ed Fields teaches, has reached 2,150 this last cycle, and that brings the total to 7,369 individuals. There are currently 22 individuals in the CLMAP program, and that number matches the year-to-date total. We completed this past summer a summer camp with 14 generation students, and that number was 14. And in terms of total students served through that particular program, we have 55 year-to-date. In terms of language translations that were done internally, in terms of Cherokee Nation, the language translation department did 14,000, roughly 14,000, a little over 14,000 translations, and they've almost done 68,000 translations this year. Now, in terms of external translations, that number is 200. They've done about almost 1,100 of those translations externally. No one has taken the teacher certification or proficiency exam, so there's no numbers there, either for this past reporting period or for the year to date. Now, in terms of language technology inquiry assistance, there were 319 inquiries, and that makes the total year-to-date around 1,600. There are no CLMAP graduates who are scheduled to graduate just yet. The next class will not graduate until February of 2022, but this year there have been 3 graduates. And in terms of numbers, the last number I have to report is that the number of individuals who are on the Language Teacher Scholarship, there are 4, and that is the same number as year-to-date. Now, in terms of specific programmatic reports, I can tell you that Ed Field's summer online language class, and this is the first time I think that this was offered during the summer, completed, and fall classes have actually started. They started on September 13th. Mr. Wade Blevins has continued filming classes for the RSU TV, and these are courses that are available through RSU. And they filmed and completed 48 new episodes to finish up what is considered Cherokee 2. So there's already a Cherokee 1 that has been recorded. Those are available on YouTube. These Cherokee 2 classes will be available as well, and these are the ones that will also be used for the online course at RSU. And I also believe that there are scholarship monies for individuals who want to take that class that's available, I think both concurrently and for students enrolled at Rogers State. The Cherokee Language Master Apprentice Program has started its 4th and final cohort group. So there are 4 groups that are currently operating. This last group had 71 applications that were received, and the program has finally reached the capacity where it's operating at. And the system, I think, is working very well. And the students are really growing and demonstrating some significant language improvement in the system. And if you follow them at all, occasionally they do videos on Facebook and whatnot. I think a couple weeks ago they were, excuse me, catching crawdads and cleaning crawdads. So they're not always in the classroom. Excuse me, if I cough, I promise it's not COVID. It's, ooh, sorry. So the language outreach, there is an individual representing the language department who has been meeting with the state of Oklahoma, the State Department of Education. The State Department has finally started a work group to put together a kind of curriculum and basis for immersion schools. And so this group is long overdue, and Cherokee Nation is represented in this meeting. I don't know quite how far along they are in terms of their meeting and putting together their standards and recommendations, but they have been meeting this year, and I believe Mr. Wade Blevins is the person who has been attending these meetings. And so when those are completed, we'll have a set of standards and information specifically for immersion school systems and particularly for native immersion schools and systems, which obviously impact us. The state is also redoing the, excuse me, I'm sorry. our state language test. And so that is in the pilot phase, and so that should be ready for individuals to take maybe in the spring, maybe before. There are several individuals, I'm in that group, as are a number of others. I believe Counselor Teehee was part of that group before she was elected, and they have put together a new test. This is the Oklahoma Subject Area Test. This is the test that anybody who wants to be a teacher in the state of Oklahoma to do anything, you have to take a test in your subject area. And for Cherokee, it's this Cherokee test, and this is the test that is being revised. And that should be completed and ready by spring. In terms of translation staff, they completed all of the translations for the 2021 All Cherokee Language issue of the Cherokee Phoenix, which was released during the Cherokee holiday. Translation specialist John Ross translated the Sequoia Day Proclamation into the syllabary. This text was also printed on a special printing press using a specially commemorative built Cherokee typeset. And if anybody's interested in seeing that, I think there are copies made. They printed that at, I believe it was John Brown University up in Siloam. The translation office provided translations for several video features as part of this bicentennial celebration. And there was a documentary on the Cherokee Speaker Rollbook project. There are also upcoming episodes of the new season of OCO TV and several short Cherokee Nation videos that were shown during the holiday. Dennis Sixkiller recently completed the 1,000th episode of the Cherokee Voices, Cherokee Sounds radio program. Translation staff continues working with the University of New Mexico linguists and researchers on transcribing various language interviews from the Cherokee Voices, Cherokee Sounds radio program. Sammy Still and Dennis Sixkiller have partnered with JOM to perform Cherokee marble demonstrations and language lessons for U.S. Army soldiers who are part of the construction crew that are building the veterans' houses for Cherokee Nation. And Mr. Still will also be featured on a Visit Cherokee Nation social media video, which will highlight his work as a traditional marble maker. And that video was one of their most popular videos. At this point, it's had around 29,000 views. Cherokee speaker Dion Boyd was awarded the Seven Feathers Award for Language by the Cherokee Phoenix. He designed a playing card game based on solitaire called Sagwu, and it utilizes the Cherokee syllabary. He had made a handmade prototype, which he brought to the language department, and the language department was able to design a professional card deck from this, and they created around 500 professional produced card decks that were split between Mr. Boyd and the Cherokee Language Department. Language tech staff have been working with Apple's font design team to update the Cherokee syllabary for use on Apple's products, the font. And 261 Cherokee language poster requests were fulfilled and printed. A majority of these went to schools and other educational organizations, museums and universities and such. There were 30 Cherokee language USB drives that were mailed out. These drives contained all the materials that you can find on the language.cherokee.org website, as well as some additional recordings. And the Cherokee Nation Immersion Charter School has started the fall semester and was assisted by various members of the Cherokee Language Department. In terms of reporting on the grant projects, the Living Language Grant, there were applications for the Cherokee Language Department Concurrent Enrollment Scholarship, and this was referenced earlier in regards to the RSU, Rogers State University Cherokee language classes, which are open and available at language.cherokee.org. The applications for these classes are available at the site. Eligibility is open to all Cherokee Nation citizens who are juniors and seniors in high school, regardless of residency. And anyone interested can contact Raven Bruner, and her email is raven-bruner@cherokee.org for any additional details. The Native Language Community Coordination, the NLCC, that committee has continued to meet biweekly with program leaders within language as well as language partners to coordinate and develop streamlined language systems throughout the tribe and its partners. The NLCC leadership attended monthly ANA cohort coaching calls and ANA grantee meetings for the months of May and June and July. NLCC leadership attended Creating Effective Language Material virtual workshop, and in September, the NLCC team will virtually host, and they have hosted, the semi-annual meeting of grantees. That was last week, I believe. Host responsibilities included how to create a master apprentice language program. Grant staff continued to develop language curriculum and meet grant benchmarks, and this development included multimedia lessons for adult language learners. Curriculum development will continue to focus on adult second language acquisition throughout the next quarter. CLMAP and NLCC curriculum team hosted program planners from the Eastern Band Snowbird community to share lessons learned as they prepare for an adult language immersion program in the fall. So Snowbird community and with the Eastern Band will be actually starting their own master apprentice program with adults sometime soon. The grant team continued to meet biweekly to maintain coordination among Cherokee Nation language efforts. Finally, the Cherokee Teacher Bridge Project continued to work professionally to develop future Cherokee language teachers. The team is currently collecting professional language education curriculum from area institutions. The Teacher Bridge Project collaborates with the NLCC grant to identify and sort through language teaching methodologies. The Cherokee master speaking position was filled during this last reporting period. In terms of curriculum development, our virtual classroom platform, the VCP, which is an online teaching platform that was developed within the Cherokee Language Department in coordination, contracting with this company, Presidio, that does this development of apps and other programs and whatnot, helped us set and start that up for specifically the Cherokee Nation Immersion School. There were translations for the student and teacher interfaces that are available within the system. So whenever you log in, what it means is that if you're a student or a teacher, you can navigate through the site in Cherokee or English. So it's got both the English interface, so if you're not familiar with syllabary, you can't read, you can use the English to navigate through. If you're a Cherokee and you can read and write, you can use that and navigate through the site. And we're continuing in-house training in terms of having that available. The idea is to have the VCP as a fallback, so if for some reason the school has to go virtual, this will be the platform that we can use with students and teachers to conduct and coordinate classes. The platform has the ability to manage classrooms, manage students, but also to meet virtually. It has a kind of a Zoom option built in. So they can log in, they can see their students, the students can see them, but everything is in Cherokee on it. The Cherokee Language Video Game App Project, based on the Inagay Cherokee Language Animated Series, has been completed, and all that we're waiting on right now is clearance with copyrights on that. So it's with the lawyers making sure all that is set. As soon as that is done, it should be available on the, I assume, Android, Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, and so can be downloaded and utilized at that time. And hopefully by the next reporting period, the game will be up and running, and so we'll have a way, so if anybody knows anybody who wants to work on their Cherokee, they can play that game. It's a pretty neat game. In terms of special projects, for the 69th Cherokee National Holiday, Language Technology assisted the Cherokee Nation Administration with gathering details with Don Leonetti of Microsoft, Peter Lofting of Apple, Craig Cornelius of Google for their assistance in the Cherokee Language Department over the years. Each of them was awarded the 2021 Samuel Worcester Award for their work with Cherokee language. The Cherokee Language Master Apprentice Program created original content that was shown during one of the drive-in nights, and as well, the Inage cartoon showed all 3 of their completed episodes that were showcased that same night. Additionally, the department assisted Cherokee Nation business staff and OCO TV, creating a new animated character that will be featured in the language lesson segment of OCO TV. Mantralinga interactive Cherokee language books have been received. So these books are, let's see, we have, I think, 3 regular books and 1 book that's for, say, 3, 4-year-old, 5-year-old kids. And it has this little pen, and there's a speaker, and what you do on the side of the page, you just touch it, and you will hear Cherokee spoken. So on the page, it's written in syllabary, and underneath that, it's written in English. So it has Cherokee and English. And so when you touch on that, it'll read the Cherokee to you. It's also set up where it can do the English as well. So you can hear the Cherokee and the English on these storybooks. And there are 4 completed storybooks for those, and then a 5th book for children, for younger kids. And that 5th book, has like body parts, kin terms, so you can touch on it. It'll say edgy, adored, things of that nature. And those have been received. They're being used at the Cherokee Immersion School, and we're looking into the possibility of procuring more if there's enough interest. Finally, getting into after-school Cherokee language programs have been developed in conjunction with Jay and Kansas Public Schools, a joint partnership between the Cherokee Language Master Apprentice Program, Cherokee Language Program, Community Language Program, and Jay and Kansas Public Schools. And similarly, the language program staff have been meeting with the Choctaw Nation Language School to discuss and explore the possibility of providing a distance learning program through Cherokee Nation. And what the Choctaw do is they have a virtual setup where they have certified teachers offering language, and so if you're a school within their area, they connect in and they do the class through there. So the students are at the site at the school, and the teachers are at wherever the Choctaws have their language virtual setup, and they teach these classes. These classes are recognized as courses that count for language credit in the state of Oklahoma, so the language department is looking into the possibility of maybe setting up something similar here, so that way we could offer a language class for high schools, maybe even middle schools or something, with a certified teacher. Obviously, our issue is that there just aren't that many individuals who are certified and to speak Cherokee, who could teach Cherokee, who could do Cherokee. And so there have been a number of inquiries through the year from local schools within the Cherokee Nation who have wanted to have Cherokee language offered, but we haven't been able to really provide that for them. This may be a way to make that possible to a number of schools. Finally, in July, the Cherokee Speaker Rollbook was taken to North Carolina amongst the Eastern Band for the Katua celebration, and a number of remaining signatures of Cherokee speakers from the Snowbird community was collected during that visit. And on a related note, during the drive-in night, the OCO TV documentary on the Speaker Roll book, how it was created and significance was also premiered. And the last thing I have to report, and then if anyone has any questions, is unfortunately the number of speakers who we have had who have passed away this year. The number I have as of today is 99 Cherokee speakers, and roughly 17 of those have passed away due to COVID. And unfortunately, we had a member in the language department who passed away recently as a result as well. So I'll open up for any questions.
Thank you, Wyman. Does anyone have questions about language? You did it, oh, yes. Counselor Austin, go ahead.
I was asked by a college student this last week or so if the Cherokee Sounds radio show is available as a podcast. I know it's available, some of the shows are available through the website, but is it available as a podcast?
You know, I am not sure. I know that you can download it through, well, did they take it off Apple? I knew it used to be available on Apple, but I don't know if it's still on there. It used to be available. I'll check.
I'd appreciate
we'll
that.
get with you and we'll find out. And if they need or want access to those, we can figure out a way to get those to them. I know that they cycle through those shows online. You can download them, but if you're looking for something like older than, I think it's like a year or so, those are archived. So, but we'll get with you and we'll find out.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you for your good report.
But don't.
Community Cultural Outreach, Mr. Kevin Stretch.
Sorry for making it wet all over there.
Seonagad, Kalilega Jigadoha. You have my reports for the last couple of months. I'm just going to point out a few highlights. Our weekly cultural presentations online via Zoom continue to be successful. We have a low turnout, 40 or 50 people during the live event, which we feel the participants get the most benefit from because they can interact with the presenter. So we would encourage everyone to definitely watch these events live every Thursday. But we get, we archive all of these on YouTube that anyone can watch at any time, and, our numbers continue to grow there. So we're building a great library for anyone that wants to go to YouTube and search for Community and Culture Outreach. We just had a successful second virtual conference. Unfortunately, it had to be a virtual conference again. This is our 17th conference overall, and we started with just doing technical assistance and grew into adding culture. And so this year we provided 25 different presentations, majority Cherokee citizens, we had the plenary address was, and the welcoming part. We invited the Chalagi Wherever We Are series folks to join in that. And the reason we do that and we didn't allow them currently to go into the full conference is because this conference is for community leaders and organizational leaders. And what we do at CCO is we focus on training them for capacity building. And so therefore, when we send out an email or a text message to, tens of thousands of people, we don't have the funds to provide access to all of those. We pay extra for that plenary address, to get up to 3,000 people. And by the way, we had about 2,900 attend that. But the rest of the conference is a little bit, we can only allow 500 in each session at a time due to, funding. But those are also archived. Those are also available on YouTube. And so everyone can go watch all of those. So our next talking about Challaga Wherever We Are series, those have been very successful. The next one coming up is October the 16th at noon Central Time, and it is going to be legislative and social empowerment, and it's going to be co-hosted by Jennifer Lauren and Delegate Teehee, and it will also feature Keith Harper, which was a former UN ambassador for the Obama administration. You need to mark your calendars to watch that. Again, these are archived. You can watch later. You get the most benefit, I think, by watching them live. I'm excited to announce that we got approval for the fiscal year 22 for these Challaga Wherever You Are series topics. And so we will be posting those soon. It's kind of been one at a time, and we apologize for that. Now we'll be able to show a calendar in advance of what we're going to be talking about, so people can have more of an opportunity to send in their questions before this series and suggestions goes live. The Cherokee National Treasure Program. So what CCO does, on the cultural side, we send out to our organizations on reservation and at large cultural representatives that might do a presentation, that might show you how to do something and give you the history. And we have not been able to do that because of COVID restriction. And so we had funding left over. And, we realize that a lot of our national treasures depend on that funding to sustain them. And so we had extra money left over at the end of the year this year. And what we did was we purchased with those funds artwork from national treasures. And what the intent of that is to display these in community buildings. Okay, so not every community building will have one at the beginning, where this is going to be, over a course of a year, because we have to identify the buildings. We would like the artwork from the national treasures that live in that district around that building to be shown in that building. And so we have to come up with the graphics and the information and the display case to make sure that that's a secure display. Okay, so we're excited by that. Additionally, for the CCO conference, we give out a lot of swag, and what we're going to do next year, and we're starting right now to plan this, is that we're going to work with the National Treasures to try to get them to make us things to give out to each individual attendee among the leadership. And we're talking about, approximately 750 people. So this is a big task, because we have 30 or so national treasures that are still actively doing work. And so it's going to be a big task for us to get. And we're working with Donetta Johnson, who's going to help us with that. So we're excited by that, to get money in the National Treasure's hands, because we depend on their, passing on their culture and their knowledge and their history. So we're excited to support them. Okay, any questions?
Thank you, Kevin. Anyone have questions for him about CCO? I think that's a great thing that you're doing for the National Treasures. I know that a lot of them do count on funds that they wouldn't ordinarily get. So that's a great thing. Thank you. Yes, Counselor Crittenden.
Just a comment. Thank you, Kevin. Been hollering at you quite a bit here lately and appreciate your accessibility.
Oh, wow.
Thank
It's
you.
my pleasure. We're all here to serve the Cherokee people. I will say that I want to give you some information about, we build ramps on a lot of properties. We're not allowed to do it on rental property. So if someone approaches you with that, and I'm not saying you have, because you haven't, that's not something that we can provide. So, all right? Well done.
Thank you. Okay, last but certainly not least is from our Cherokee National Treasures Advisory Committee, Ms. Betty Frog.
There's water here. Alma Nikanoost. All right, we named 3 new living treasures, and they are Kathy Abercrombie, I can't even say that, I'm full blood here talking, Abercrombie in loom weaving, Danny McCarter in weapons, and Harry Otsawee in sculpture. And each one were awarded, well, they were awarded during the ceremony, virtual ceremony, which was supposed to be the national holiday. Our national treasures are featured at the Saline Courthouse Museum on a rotated basis. The following treasures and their work will be featured, as Molly talked about, Bessie in basketry September through October. And as far as Dorothy I. Loom Weave in November, December, she backed out, and so Betty Frog's going to be featured for those 2 months. Beginning January 2022, each national treasure will be showcased for 3 months instead of 2. And during the rise of COVID-19 cases, the Cherokee National Treasure Student Art Show was canceled, which was also going to be during the holiday. The National Treasures Mentorship Program ended the fiscal year with 6 National Treasures teaching mentors and 26 students. And we also lost a living treasure, and we lost our Laureen Drywater, who made the buffalo grass dolls. Any questions?
Anyone have questions for Betty? I didn't get that name of the person that you said is replacing Dorothy Ice at Saline.
Victoria.
I couldn't.
Betty Frog.
I'm sorry, you said it so fast, I thought.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Betty
Okay.
Frog. Y'all.
That's all right. And I had one more little question about when there are new national treasures given the award, are they encouraged by the committee to sign up to give classes in?
Yes, we do talk to them, and there is a part in the application that they are supposed to be teaching.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
That's it. Thank you for your report.
How
Thanks
are-
for being here. Okay. No old business, no new business. Does anyone have any announcements for culture? I just want to say how grateful I am, my family and I are, for Cherokee Nation naming the Cultural Welcome Center in Veneta for my mother, Anna Mitchell. It's one of the biggest honors and we couldn't have even dreamed it, so we're thrilled for that. The only other announcement would be that the next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, November 16th at 9 a.m. My gosh, it's almost Thanksgiving. I need a motion, you guys, to adjourn. All in favor? All right. We're adjourned.